Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So as usual, let's make a video talking about unlocking an RD costume, this time Akeha. I want to talk in some detail about the Recollections of Dusk story, so spoiler alert. I've enjoyed all of the RD stories, but this one really struck me. First of all, a couple things up front. One, I recommend reading all of a character's secret stories, or hidden stories as they are called in Global, before seeing their RD stories. It's not necessary, but they have turned out to be pretty intertwined, and the secret stories often lead into the RD stories. Secondly, reading this story and writing this script, I was hit with a sense of urgency. In my Shutdowns of Japanese Mobile Games video series, I said I was half expecting, half hoping for 2 months of the game after Shutdown is announced, and I was telling myself that I would wait for the announcement before doing story analysis, but I think it would take longer than that, along with everything else that's going on. So I really should get started now. But yes, here's the battle, not challenging at all. I did auto build, and even though I checked healing and burden relief, it did neither of those things, so I changed out the weapons and auto battled the clear. The sword that she comes with looks great, a light element greatsword with a black horn skill set, but 40% damage up on bold vigor, that's insane. Alright, but let's look at the kimono. This is a color change of the Dark Memory kimono, which I covered in a previous fashion check video. I'll link to that below. In there, I said it looked a lot like a pure white wedding kimono, and so it would be natural to think this black kimono would be appropriate for funerals, and it even hints at that in the story. But really it's not. It has too much pattern and decoration, and it is lacking the family crest. It is not serious or formal enough for a funeral, unless you wanted to seriously disrespect the family of the deceased. Not to say it isn't a beautiful kimono, it's quite striking. I do have the same complaints about it, the structure, as I do with the DM kimono, however. The slit on the bottom half opens on the wrong side. The upper part, falling off the shoulders, does not seem to have a bottom half, and the giant bow in the back is of a different fabric than the obi, so I don't know where it's coming from. But the crane pattern is beautiful and understated, the accessories are cool, and the black tabi socks are also striking. I almost feel like that is going too far with the black, and I would have preferred white tabi socks to lighten the overall look, but it doesn't look bad at all. Alright, and to end, let's talk about the story. In a nutshell, again, spoiler alert, a sister assassin from Akeha's family, introduced in the secret stories, hunts her down and kills the girl Akeha saved at the end of her main story. Akeha flies into a rage, kills the sister assassin, and goes on to kill everyone in the family, including the Lord, who is responsible for creating her, and she continues killing forever while wishing someone would kill her. Not a happy storybook ending. And I saw some disappointment on Japanese Twitter about it. But it spoke to me because I am familiar with capital T tragedy, as the ancient Greeks thought of it, and that is exactly the reason why I love Marie and Yuri's twin stories. The ancient Greeks loved the idea of fate, that everyone has their fate laid out, and it is impossible to escape, and the protagonist undergoes a fall where fate catches up to them, often due to some fatal flaw, and then the narrative ends there. The purpose of tragedy is to make the audience feel fear, pity, or sympathy, and by making us feel, tragedy educates us on our own emotions. But that is not like modern narratives, like in Marvel movies or popular anime or video games. In there, you often have flawed characters, but they overcome their own flaws and get the happy storybook ending. Tragedy, as the Greeks understood it, does not sell today, so that is why the form seems so alien and disappointing to a lot of audiences. Shakespeare, who was very influenced by Greek tragedy, is not broadly popular today, and Kurosawa Akira, who was very influenced by Shakespeare, is also not broadly popular today. Yoko Taro's stories have a reputation for being depressing, but people don't take the extra step of asking why they are depressing, and my guess is that he is aiming to accomplish what the ancient Greeks wanted to accomplish, which is to educate us on our emotions, Yoko Taro is brave and admirable for attempting this, where it is so unpopular a name in our modern times, and he is genius for making it work anyway. If we compare this RD Akeha story to another Nier story, I guess you could say it reminds me of the story of 2B and 9S from Automata. They are fated to repeat a cycle. They are unable to escape from what they are, which is what it would take to get out of that cycle. 2B and 9S, by the time we meet them, have already repeated their cycle of death and rebirth and memory loss many times over. And with the E ending, it seems they will continue on with it. While Akeha grew up killing, attempted to turn over a new leaf, and went back to killing. I spoke about this in a Nier Automata video, but all this also reminds me of the Buddhist belief of an endless cycle of reincarnation, and the escape from which is peaceful nothingness, nirvana. What's interesting is that the girl Akeha saved could be interpreted as having achieved nirvana, as evidenced by her smile in death, while Akeha is doomed to roam hell on earth, and the key difference between them is the ability to be grateful for the experience and time and memories in the past, while not attempting to cling onto the physical world. It kind of mirrors my talk about mobile game shutdowns. Do we want to rage futilely and impotently, or do we want to look back with gratitude? Finally, I wanted to pick up something that was lost in translation, and that is the type of demon Akeha became. It is the Hanya demon, which features in traditional Japanese No stage plays, and in the Japanese script for the RD story, they refer to Akeha as becoming like a Hanya demon. They are mortal women, overcome with negative feelings like jealousy or rage, and so become a Hanya demon through that. And that made me think again about the bloodless version of Akeha. Because she has samurai armor on her costume, I assume the mask was the facial part of the samurai helmet, but what if it was a Hanya mask, but like half broken? That would explain the horn, which would not be there on a facial part of a samurai helmet. And that makes me think that the bloodless Akeha that we saw in the People World chapter was not an Akeha from another timeline, but perhaps from her future. Okay, I want to keep this video semi-short, but yeah, I think Akeha, I'd want to maybe tackle her, like all of her stories together, like Dark Memory and Secret Stories, because I feel like all of her stories are very focused and kind of lean, and she might be a good one to start on. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.